This is the age of the common man and the slaves that work for him. Today, our slaves are mechanical, engines, machines, gadgets. They lay down only one condition: no fuel, no go. Often they demand fuel when we're in a steaming hurry. Car or lighter, they need replenishing every bit as much as we do. Fuel is the lifeblood of our booming century. Without it, everything would come to a grinding halt. On land, we still haven't reached the stage where the garage calls on us. Not like they do in the Navy. These submarines are refueling at base, but in general, the fleet today refuels at sea, not in port. And they do this without even stopping. The Navy's ships simply call up their ocean garage, a tanker, arrange to meet, and travel along together while they fill up on fuel. Here are two ships doing just that, a tanker meeting up with an aircraft carrier. As they draw abreast, the carrier fires across a line. The tanker catches it, and with contact established, sends across her hoses. These are suspended from huge stays. The hoses are coupled to the carrier's fuel tanks, and pumps force the oil across. During the whole of this operation, the two ships keep a steady check on their stations and maintain the same speed. Refueling at sea arose out of the Navy's need to keep ships highly mobile and increase their range. With their fuel tanks always well topped up, they're ready to travel long distances at immediate notice. It's claimed that these tankers can pump fuel into them even more rapidly than shore installations. An aircraft carrier is heavy on fuel oil. A gallon will drive it less than 10 yards, yet it can take in all it needs from this tanker in an hour or so. The Navy has become so versed in these practices that it has actually found it's best these days to take aboard all its supplies at sea: ammunition, food, spares, stores, the lot. It means less congestion in the harbors and on the docks, and when they do put into port, the ship's company is left freer to enjoy their shore leave. This technique of sea refueling has become so highly organized that it's a regular routine for tankers like this to refuel two ships at once, one on either side. Other ships in the area, the carrier's destroyer escorts for instance, will take it in turn to come in on the other side and hook up for their own supplies. Each of these destroyers could go for 3 weeks on the oil a carrier might use in a day. In any kind of a sea, an immense tide race can build up between tanker and warships as they travel abreast. Whatever the weather, it's as much a part of a day's work as collecting the mail or coming alongside a bigger ship for a handout of fresh bread from her bakery. Soon, even these fighters of the Fleet Air Arm will themselves be equipped to refuel on the run. The practice of refueling aircraft in flight was shown to have enormous advantages during the Korean War. The V-bombers of the Royal Air Force are equipped to be refueled in the air whenever necessary. Here, an instructor shows the technique. A tanker aircraft trails a hose fitted with this cone called a drogue. Those earthing wires are there to forestall any electric spark when the two planes meet. The plane requiring fuel aims a probe on its nose into this drogue. It clips into it like a big press stud, and it's ready to take in fuel through the hose. The RAF station at Marham in Norfolk is one of the main British bases from which the spectacular technique of flight refueling is operated. From here, many long-distance flights are planned, making use of tanker planes stationed at refueling bases throughout the world. Crews of the V-Force come here to be trained in its use. It was a Valiant bomber which flew from Malaya to England in 16¼ hours by refueling in the air on the way over Karachi and Cyprus. One of the favourite training hops is from Norfolk to Rhodesia or to Cape Town in South Africa. That's the special refueling probe fitted to aircraft of the V-Force. In an alert, bombers like this can use refueling to stay on patrol in the air. Or they can take off with heavier loads by lightening their fuel tanks to get them into the air, then filling up at cruising height. This bomber is setting off on a long-range mission, calling for a mid-air refueling on the way. It simply radios ahead to a chosen airfield on its route and makes an appointment for a tanker plane to meet it in the sky at a time when its fuel will be getting low. The Bowser lorries of a refueling depot trundle off to fill a tanker plane, ready to rise and refuel the long-distance traveller as she passes overhead. This tanker aircraft is simply another Valiant converted for refueling duty. She can become a tanker in a matter of hours. All they do is to fit a specially designed hose reel unit in her bomb bay, and presto, she's a flying garage, ready to take the air as soon as the Bowsers have pumped her full of fuel. Any time now, this tanker's client, the non-stop bomber out from Britain, will be coming within range. The tanker takes off to keep a rendezvous in the sky. And within minutes of establishing contact, they're flying within sight of each other. The tanker takes the lead, trailing her hose with its bell-shaped drogue. The receiver plane flies behind and beneath, closing up slowly, very slowly, to aim the probe into the drogue. Here is a test of the skill of both pilots. The tanker requires rock-steady handling to stop that hose from whipping about. There must be great steadiness too, and judgment, from the receiver's pilot. He has to be relaxed, the training manuals say, like a golfer taking an important putt. One shot is all a good pilot needs to button up to the tanker, and the jet fuel begins to gush down that hose into the bomber. For safety, any sudden jerk between the two planes as they fly on together automatically uncouples the hose and shuts off the fuel supply. Here is the culmination of an idea that began as a stunt way back in the days of the flying circuses. It took a famous British flyer, Sir Alan Cobham, to see its value, put the idea to work, and develop it to the point where it could make an outstanding contribution to aviation. Refueling in the air is already part of the history of commercial flying, and today it serves the air forces of almost every major Western power.